Welcome back. Last week we had a story about creativity. Today's book is about imagination and a little girl in a village in India. Let's read. Lolly's Feather, written by Farhana Zia with illustrations by Stephanie Fizer-Coleman. Farhana spent her early years in Hyderabad, India, but now lives in Massachusetts. She's a children's book writer, former public school teacher, and a grandmother of 3. She loves reading, writing, and making French macarons. Steph loves to paint birds and has made art for over 55 children's books, as well as for puzzles, greeting cards, stationery, wall art, tea towels, stickers, and other stuff. She lives in West Virginia with her husband and their dogs. Lolly found a feather in the field. Whose feather? She did not know. It was a sweet feather, though. Oh, ma! Was little Feather lost? Lolly set out to find Feather a home. Rooster, Rooster, is this feather yours? Lolly asked. Nah, Lolly, nah, Rooster replied. My feather is a big feather. It makes me a lordly bird. That feather is a little feather. It's not mine. Crow, Crow, is this feather yours? Lolly asked. Nah, Lolly, nah, Crow replied. My feather is a perky feather. It makes me a speedy bird. That feather is a poky feather. It's not mine. Peacock, Peacock, is this feather yours? Lolly asked. Nah, Lolly, nah, Peacock replied. My feather is a fancy feather. It makes me a handsome bird. That feather is a plain feather. It's not mine. Cheeky birds, cried Lolly. If you don't want feather, I shall keep it. And that is what she did. Feather and I will do 100 things, Lolly said. She ran to show Hen her feather. Joo, joo, Hen giggled. My feather can keep my babies warm. Lolly, oh Lolly, what can little Feather do? Feather can do this, Lolly said. Lolly and Feather wrote a note to Goat. Ooh, ma, Hen explained. I didn't know little Feather could do that. Lolly ran to show Duck her feather. Jo, jo, Duck chuckled. My feather can keep me dry from shore to shore. Lolly, oh Lolly, what can Poky Feather do? Feather can do this, Lolly said. Feather and Lolly swept the floor from door to door. Ooh, ma, Duck cried. I didn't know Poky Feather could do that. Lolly ran to show Blue Jay her feather. Jo, jo, Blue Jay tittered. My feather makes everyone say, ooh and ah. Lolly, oh Lolly, what can plain Feather do? Feather can do this, said Lolly. Feather and Lolly fanned the fire a little higher. Ooh, ma, Blue Jay cried. I didn't know plain Feather could do that. Feather and Lolly made Sister sneeze. Feather and Lolly tickled Bapu's toes, too. Little feather twirled and whirled. It shimmered and glimmered. "Whoa! It's a clever feather," observed the birds. Then Big Old Wind burst with a whoosh and gave Little Feather a great big lift. Feather flip-flopped, teeter-tottered. Up went Feather. Up, up, higher, higher, over the huts, over smelly bins, over mango tree and tamarind tree. "Oyez, Feather, stop!" Feather didn't stop. Feather flitted. Feather fluttered. Feather floated away. "Oh, Ma, Feather, sweet Feather," sobbed Lolly. Rooster wept too. "Lolly, dear Lolly, you can have my feather," cried Hen. "It cannot write a note, but it's a warm feather." "Do take mine," cried Duck. "It cannot sweep a floor, but it's a dry feather." "Here's mine," cried Blue Jay. "It cannot fan a fire, but it's a colorful feather." But Lolly didn't want their feathers. Lolly wanted her feather, her little, pokey, plain feather. "Lolly, dear Lolly, dry your tears," Crow cried. "I will bring sweet Feather back in a jiffy, in a snap, in the blink of an eye." Crow flopped her speedy feathers and flew from tree to tree. And Peacock? Why, he also flew because he missed Feather too. "Fly, birds, fly! Faster, faster!" "Wait, Feather, wait! Nah!" Jay-ho! Lolly's feather came back. "Hip, hip, hurrah!" cried the birds. "Lolly, oh Lolly, we want to play with Feather too." Lolly and Feather played in the field with friends until the end of the day. The next day, Lolly found a button in the field. Whose button? She did not know. It was a shiny button, though. The end. What did you think? I thought this was a comforting book, didn't you? The world in it was bright and beautiful, and the biggest problem was whether or not Lolly would get her feather back, right? I can picture the author reading it to one of her grandkids. Sometimes we need comfort. Watching reruns of our favorite TV show, hanging out with our best friend, cooling off in the swimming pool, snuggling up on the sofa with a cup of hot cocoa and marshmallows when it's winter outside. We even have comfort food. Usually something our mom or dad makes that is our very favorite in the entire world. But sometimes we need comfort from Jesus. Really? Yeah. Sometimes we need to tell him what's bothering us, how upset we are about something somebody said or didn't do. And the greatest thing about that is that he's available 24/7. Because face it, the grocery store may close at midnight, and you may be unable to go buy a pint of Ben & Jerry's. But Jesus is there to listen. You know, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases, and there's no limit to the comfort that God can offer and give us. See you next week.